From there, I would do a general condition check on the side of my tractor. In here, I have 3 reflective triangles. I would also carry spare fuses for my electrical system. From there, I got a turn signal. This is also a marker light and my 4-ways. It should be amber in color. Back here, I'm going to check my exhaust system. Make sure that it's properly mounted and secured. There's no excessive soot, and it doesn't appear to be any leaks in it. Check my battery box. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured, and that there's no fluid leaking from it. Make sure my catwalk is properly mounted and secured. It's clean and free of debris. My airline connectors from the back of my tractor, also known as the tractor protection valve. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured and they're not loose, along with my electrical connector. Then I would check the lines themselves, looking for any abrasions, bulges, or cuts, which would indicate either my electrical line shorting out or me losing air pressure. Underneath here is my drive shaft. I'm going to check it, making sure it's properly mounted and secured. My last frame check. Make sure that there's no bends, no twists, no illegal drills, no welds, no dead cats. No dead cats. No. Last thing I'm going to check under here is my torque arm, directly above my differential. It is properly mounted and secured. From there, I'm going to move back to the brake system. I have 2 brake hoses. It's a double barrel brake chamber. There's 2 hoses. They're properly mounted and secured to both brake chambers. Properly mounted and secured. The slack adjuster and the push rod is on the inside. Make sure they are properly mounted and secured. I would test this slack adjuster the same way that I tested the front. The last thing I'm going to check is lean on the inside. Check the drums. Make sure there's no bluing or glazing. And make sure that there's a minimum of a 1/4 inch of brake pad on the brake pads. Last thing I'm going to check for that is make sure there's no hub oil leaking on the inside, which would indicate a blown wheel seal. Now I'm going to do the suspension. It's pretty much the same as it is up front. I have a spring mount here in the front and a leaf spring. I also have a U-bolt and a shock absorber, all of which are properly mounted and secured. But I don't have a spring hanger here in the back. I have an airbag. I'm going to check the air mount, make sure it's properly mounted and secured, and the airbag itself has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Now I'm going to check the splash guard. It's properly mounted and secured. Now I can do the tires. I'm going to check the inside and the outside of the first tire, the inside and the outside of the second tire, looking for any abrasions, bulges, or cuts. My ICD on the tires, inflation again is to manufacturer specifications. Condition is good. They cannot be unevenly worn. They cannot be mismatched tires. They can be recaps, and most oftenly are. And the minimum tread depth is 2/32. Then I'm going to come to the outside of my rims. I'm going to check the rims to make sure there's no cracking, which would look like spider webs. No white powder around the lug nuts. Then touch each lug nut to make sure that they are all tight. This is a hub plate. All I'm doing here is making sure that it's properly mounted and secured, and it's not leaking. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the 5th wheel assembly underneath the trailer. I have the apron of the trailer. Make sure it's properly mounted, it's not bent, no metal hanging from it. I have my 5th wheel skid plate. Is properly mounted and secured. There is no gap between the apron and the skid plate. My release handle is in the locked position. Proper grease. Make sure there's plenty of grease on my skid plate. I have my fifth wheel clearance pins in the locked position, and my fifth wheel base plate is properly mounted with all the mounting bolts present and accounted for. From there, I'm going to climb up underneath the trailer. Up under here, I'm going to make sure the locking jaws are around the shank of the kingpin. I'm also going to make sure that the kingpin itself is properly mounted and secured, which it is. Then I'm going to check my mud flap. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured. Can be no more than 8, no less than 2 off the ground. Must cover the width of both tires and can be no further than 6 inches away from the tires. Then the last thing I'm going to check on the tractor are the lights themselves, making sure they are properly mounted and secured and the proper color. This is my left and right turn signal, my brake lights, my 4-ways, and my backup lights. Crawling around the sandpit. That completes the tractor. Now let's do the trailer. We're going to start at the front of the trailer. Make sure that the bulkhead is free of damage, that the glad hands properly mounted and secure, and that they're tight, along with my electrical cable. Hold on a second, I'll pull the pins out. I have my reflectors and my marker lights at the top. They're proper color, they're properly mounted and secure. That I have at least 50% DOT tape down the side of my trailer. My landing gear is properly mounted and secured. The legs aren't bent, the feet are free of debris. The handle's in the locked position. Then I'm going to check up underneath the trailer. Look at all the trailer ribs all the way down the trailer. Make sure they're not bent or broken or missing. Check the rivets down the side that support the ribs. Make sure none of them are missing, no more than 2 in a row. I have a turn signal, marker light, and 4-way light. It's properly mounted and secure along with the reflector. Back under here. First thing I'm going to check is my tandem slide rail. Check all the holes, make sure they're not out of round. The rail itself is not cracked. The release handle's in the locked position and the dogs are in the doghouse. The trailer is locked into place. Next thing I'm going to check is the trailer torque arm, located directly beneath the leaf springs. On the one side is round where the adjustment's made, and on the other side is square, permanently affixed, making sure it's properly mounted and secured. From there I'll do the brake system, same way that I did this drive axles. 2 hoses, no abrasions, bulges, and cuts. Double banded brake chamber, properly mounted and secured. Slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured. I would test these the same way that I did the other axles. The brake drum itself, no bluing or glazing. The brake pad, no less than 1/4 inch of pad. No hub oil leaking inside the rim. The wheel seal is good. The marriage of the tire to the rim, all the way around. No abrasions, bulges, and cuts. This set of tires I would check exactly the same way I did the steers. Inflation is to manufacturer specification. Condition is good, they're not unevenly worn. They're the same type of tire. They can be recaps. And the depth is 2/32 a minimum. Also, one thing I did forget up front, you have to check the space. Make sure the tires are properly spaced together. If you forget something during the test, and you remember it later on, feel free to call it out. You will get credit for it then. The pre-trip is not over until you say it's over. Check the spacing in between the tires. Make sure the wheels are properly butted together and there's no debris. Let's move to the outside. From here, again, this is a different type of rim. It's a steel rim. Steel, I'm looking for excessive rust or any cracks in it, or if anybody tried to weld it. Check my lug nuts, make sure each one is tight. And I have a hub seal, just like the front axle. Make sure that it's filled to its proper level, it's not leaking, and it's properly mounted and secured. Up close and personal there, huh? On the side of the trailer, I have a door tie. This is what holds my doors open when I'm backing into somewhere. Properly mounted and secured. I have a reflective light and a light, red in color. My mud flaps are exactly the same. No more than 8, no less than 2, no farther away than 6, must cover both tires. On the back of the trailer, I'm going to check my door hinges. Properly mounted and secured. Check my doors themselves. Properly fastened, the door ties are properly mounted and secured. I have 100% DOT reflective tape across the back of the trailer, and I have my reflective L's at the top of the trailer. I have my left and right turn signals, my 4-ways, my marker lights, my trailer license plate light, all properly mounted and secured. I have a DOT bumper. Can be bent, but it cannot be broken. All right, that concludes the outside. Let me go wash my hand. We'll do the inside.